we have something to celebrate again. Yet again, we have something to celebrate. You, as you all know, you all participated, obviously, to our rummage sale because we broke every existing record. We made $970.90. Now hold on. There's more. There's more. Because this church is this church. That's all I can tell you. Well, a couple of girls said, well, what do you mean $970? Why don't we make it an even $1,000? I'll donate. So, henceforth, we now have $1,001. I appreciate everything. Everybody worked so hard. It was a wonderful event. It was amazing. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Louise?
I just want to inform all of you, even though you've been very gracious to volunteer to help with the Backyard Bash, we've had several unforeseen things happen last minute, so we decided God must be speaking to us, and so we are canceling it. And that doesn't mean we won't do it in the future, but right now we're done. So thank you. And on February 23 as our Backyard Bash. Thank you.
And to follow that up, I was begging for books. Well, take them to the library or someplace else now. But there are a few books here in the city that have already been dropped off. And if you would wish to make a donation, they're next to the food, next to the bread products in Davis Hall. So I thank you if you are holding books for us. And another year I will be asking again.
Thank you. Easter egg. My notes just say, Matt, for the Easter egg announcement. You have nothing to announce on that yet. Okay. Very good. What's that? Oh, Nicole, do you have something on the Easter egg hunt?
I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting for information before I make an announcement.
Okay. Very good. Other announcements anyone has to make? Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our worship service here at the North Fork Community United Church of Christ, where no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. If you've begun the friendship books that you'll find on the ends of the pews towards the center aisle, please take that now, open it, and sign your names to it. If you are visiting us for the first time, we'd like you to include your at-home address, and if your at-home address is here in the North Fork vicinity, we'd also like you to give us a phone number and or an email so that we can contact you and tell you how much we appreciated having you with us and hope that you will certainly return. And if we have any first-time visitors with us this morning, we have a gift for you. If you're visiting us for the first time, could you raise your hand and be identified? Everybody has been here before. Okay, very good. If you have a cell phone, we ask that you please turn it off at this time or put it on the silent mode. The gift statements for the year 2012 are in the back and the narthex that can be picked up today. We have many things going on in the life of this church this week. Today marks the end of Epiphany. This is Transfiguration Sunday. Ash Wednesday is this coming Wednesday, and there will be an Ash Wednesday service, a brief service for the marking of the ashes and the beginning of the season of Lent, and that will be at 7 o'clock. There will also be a Lenten Bible study on the Lord's Prayer that will begin Thursday, and it will begin with a potluck. So if you are interested in coming and being a part of that, please come. Bring a dish to share. And then after the potluck dinner, we will proceed with the Bible study. If you haven't already alerted Patty that you want to participate, please do so by tomorrow morning early, because we need to send off for the books, the study books. They are $13 each student or couple will need. There is a reading involved with this. Monday, tomorrow evening, the youth group meets at 6:30. The deacons meet at 7 o'clock. The trustees meet on Tuesday at 6:30. The UCC Women's Valentine's lunch is at noon at the Fish House at the restaurant at Fisherman's Village. The Charlie Marcus's study group will continue as it's been doing, and it will be on Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And Just Kids is at 6 o'clock on Friday evening, so parents and children can bring them by, and they'll be in the Just Kids programs, and the parents can go off and do other things. And very importantly, our conference minister, Kent Salati, will be here with us in worship next Sunday. He will be preaching. Kent is a delightful person, and he is a marvelous preacher, so you will not want to miss the relief of hearing finally a good sermon. Because Kent is coming, and he's coming because he needs to know, that the larger conference really needs to know what a delightful congregation you are, and the good things that are happening here, and the exciting things that are happening in the city of Northport that many people outside of here really aren't aware of. The conference needs to be aware of this. So I'm doing everything I can to impress him with who you are. And one of the things that I'm wanting to do to impress him with is we are going to have a new member reception next Sunday during the worship service. Some of you already are planning to come into membership, but if there are others of you who would like to come into formal membership with this church, if you already have the membership applications, please fill those out and get those in today or tomorrow. And if you do not have a membership application but would like to come into membership next Sunday, please see me this morning before you get away from the church. And lastly, but importantly, this morning is the noisy coin offering. The boxes are ready, and we'll ask the children to come up and get them, and we will take up the noisy coin offering, and it goes to the Just Kids program. Children of God, it is good for us to be here. We are in the presence of God's only begotten Son. Let us listen. Please stand if you are able, and let us join in singing our opening hymn, number 85. All praise to Him who reigns.
about 8 days after these sayings, Jesus took with him Peter and John and James and went up on a mountain to pray. And while he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became dazzling white. And suddenly they saw two men, Moses and Elijah, talking to him. They appeared in glory and were speaking of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and his companions were weighed down with sleep. But since they stayed awake, they saw his glory, and the two men who stood with him. Just as they were leaving him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. While he was saying this, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were terrified as they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my son, my chosen. Listen to him. When the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone, and they kept silent, and in those days told no one any of the things they had seen.
I'd like to have the children come and join me up in front, please. And this morning, the bullet was matched. Today's story. Peter was talking to Mark, and he said, there was this one time that I'll never forget. It was when we were with Jesus up on a mountain. And it was Jesus, and it was me, and it was James and his brother John. And there we were up on this mountain, and the strangest thing happened. Jesus' face turned white. It was like it was all lit up. And then all of him, with his white robe and everything, he just turned really, really white. And we were stunned, and we wondered, what's happening? And then it was like Elijah and Moses showed up and stood right there beside Jesus. And we went, wow, what's happening? And we didn't know what to do. And so we said to Jesus, should we make 3 tents? Should we put up 3 tents? One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah? But Jesus didn't say anything. He stood there. And then suddenly we heard this like a voice coming out of the air. And it said, this is my son, the one that I have chosen. Listen to him. And we were so stunned by that we really didn't know what to do. And so we just fell down on the ground, afraid. But Jesus said, get up and let us go back down from the mountain. I'll never forget that, Peter said to Mark. And Mark said to Peter, wow, that was really something. What did it mean? And Peter said, it meant so much that I'm still thinking about. You know, sometimes God does things that are so big that we really can't explain just what it means. All of it. We just have to experience it. And Mark said, yeah, I know what you mean. And then God keeps doing things like that. And Peter said, yeah, God does. And that's today's story. Let's pray. Dear God, we're still pondering what happened. But we do know that you chose Jesus to be special in our lives. And we are to listen. Be with us as we listen to him. Do be with us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Okay, folks.
The Old Testament reading today is Exodus 34, 29 through 35. Moses came down from Mount Sinai. As he came down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the covenant in his hand, Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone because he was talking with God. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, the skin of his face was shining, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him, and Moses spoke with them. Afterwards, all the Israelites came near, and he gave them in commandment all that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. When Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he would take the veil off until he came out. And when he came out and told the Israelites what he had been commanded, the Israelites would see the face of Moses, that the skin of his face was shining. And Moses would put the veil on again until he went in to speak with him.
So there I was, standing at the top of the mountain, looking out over the whole world, it seemed, having a religious experience. My appearance was, in fact, pretty close to being snowy white, which it should have been, but I had been mingling with the snow up and down that mountain all day long at Sunday River skiing. But this did not make it any less real. What I was experiencing was an experience with awesome religious qualities. There is something indeed spiritual about standing at the summit of a mountain, looking out over what seems to be the whole world, as though being on top of the world and sensing the grandeur of it all. It defies words or explanations or even descriptions. It's just a feeling of awe. I recall many years ago when I lived in Colorado, having driven my little Volkswagen Beetle up a mountain road to about 11,000 feet to a little mountain lake. And getting out of the car, looking up at the absolute top of that particular mountain, and it was right there. And I said to my friend that I was with, I said, "What time is it?" And he said, "Oh, it's 11:30. And I said, "Well, we can go up there and be back down here and be back into town in time for lunch, right?" And he kind of smiled and said, "Sure." Okay, it was right there. It would be like going from here out into the back parking lot, turning around and coming back here. Well, we started climbing up the rocks and the slag pebbles, and we climbed and we climbed, and my breath was coming with more difficulty and more difficulty, because the air up there is very, very thin. And we had climbed for a long time and a long way, and I looked back down, and my little Volkswagen Beetle looked to be about the size of a dime. And I looked back up at the top of the mountain, and it didn't look any closer than it had when I left it. But we'd come that far, we weren't stopping. And so we continued to climb and to climb. Now, the climbing wasn't like, we didn't need ropes and things. We could simply walk up, but we were going higher, higher, higher. And my breathing was getting more and more difficult, and I was taking these big, gasping breaths. But finally, we made it. And it was worth it. I could stand on the absolute peak of that mountain on a clear Colorado day, where when there's a blue sky, it is as blue as those coast backgrounds on the wall. Absolutely spectacularly blue. And I could see for 100 miles in either direction. It was as though I was being on top of the world, and I was sensing the grandeur of all of that. And I just couldn't escape from saying, my God, this is so wonderful. I can't even appreciate what I'm seeing right now. So it's no wonder that we associate religious experiences with mountaintops, and that the Bible depicts significant revelations with God as taking place on the mountains. These are the high points of life, and they remind us that our lives are not lived just on the flat, horizontal plains, or even down in the low valleys of depressions and depths. God invites us to go to the tops for spiritual highs and awesome experiences of life. What Moses experienced on Mount Sinai and what the disciples experienced with Jesus are paradigms for what we can experience. The mountaintop experiences of transformation remind us that we are spiritual beings. We really are. We are not economic beings or consumer beings or political beings or jumping beings. Just checking to see if you're still with me. We cut ourselves off from the fullness of life if we do not allow ourselves opportunities to go to the mountaintop. Harold Kushner, who is the rabbi who wrote When Bad Things Happen to Good People, also wrote a book called Who Needs God? And in this book he says, I deal with bright, successful people. People I genuinely like and admire, and I sense that something is missing in their lives. There is a lack of rootedness, a sense of having to figure out things all by themselves because the past cannot be trusted to be their guide. Their celebrations, from their children's birthday parties to a daughter's wedding, to a business milestone, can be lots of fun, but rarely soar to the level of joy. And as they grow older, I suspect they either confront or actively hide from confronting the thought that there must be more to life than this. We need religious experiences in our lives. We need those mountaintop vistas of revelation which give us that indescribable sense that my life is together, that, my God, this is it. And for these to happen, we need to be willing to explore the mountain, to risk being overwhelmed by the inbreaking of God's life. One way this happens, I think, is the willingness to take the common, ordinary stuff of life and yet stop seeing it as common and ordinary. The theologian Paul Tillich years ago spoke of the two dimensions of life, the horizontal and the vertical. The horizontal is life lived on the surface. No feelings, no deep thoughts, no questions, and very few surprises. The vertical dimension is exploring the heights and the depths, allowing ourselves to be in touch with what is really deep within us, that we might then also soar to the heights of feeling. It means daring to ask ourselves, what does our one life mean? What do we live for that is truly significant? And what am I truly passionate about? So passionate that I'm willing to be committed to it beyond all else. and then interpret everything in my life through this commitment. I had a teacher in seminary who called this lived moments into meaning. You focus on a particular lived moment, an event in life, and explore it for all of its meaning that it has to offer. And sometimes it just means being very open to God's presence in life without any preconceived notions and allowing God to be God. We are such control freaks. We are so much wanting to be in control. We want to control everything. We even want to control God. Let us build 3 booths, the disciples said. They couldn't just be in the experience and let it happen to them. Just let go and let God was the slogan of a few years ago. Let God happen in the common and the ordinary, making life uncommon and extraordinary. We come here this morning to partake of fellowship with God and to be in fellowship with one another. And this is a religious experience, if we let it become a religious experience. This room is designed the way it is, with certain pieces of architecture and furnishings in order to make a statement and to invite us into a profound sensitivity of the holy other that is in our midst. Look closely at what is here. The only common elements, only a table, only a cup, something that is common to many rooms, all of our houses. It's almost laughable, if looked at rationally, that these could contribute to a religious experience. But when we celebrate communion here at this table, we partake of bread by eating tiny little pieces of bread that could scarcely give anyone much real nourishment. If we were really hungry, that bread wouldn't help very much. And the tiny little glasses of juice is scarcely enough to be a thirst quencher or a source of nutrition. And over here is a round wooden stand that contains a small bowl into which we pour water in order to perform baptism. The water with which we baptize from this font is scarcely enough to clean one's hands, let alone the whole person. But all of these ordinary, even ludicrous elements point beyond themselves to another reality. They point to a different type of hunger and thirst and need for cleansing that we have. They point to spiritual nourishment, spiritual cleansing, spiritual fellowship that we need for sustenance. They point to a vertical dimension. They point us to the God of the mountaintop who meets us and says, "This is my chosen one. Listen to him." Mountaintops are wonderful. We all need them. We need to cultivate and nourish our spiritual lives. We come into this special room, we gather at fellowship at this table, whether we actually celebrate the Lord's Supper here or not. We come around this table every time we gather in this room. In order to have our spirits fed, to get in touch with who we really are and whose we really are as God's own people. We are here every Sunday to commune with God. God invites us here to experience the truth of life from the mountaintop, to be truly overwhelmed by its awfulness and its wonder. Let us be in prayer. Overwhelming and awesome God, may we truly feel your presence in our lives, that we might be lifted as missiles and projected into rarefied atmosphere, knowing that our lives are full beyond the measure of this world, and that we are your creations in Jesus Christ. With whom we are. Working those and adding to them. So it was a good event, I thought, and I want to celebrate.